Morning, folks. Welcome to the Inside Track with Scottish Sun. Jim Delahunt here with me as always. Jim, an incredible day of drama yesterday. How do you sum it up? I mean, we had a champion hurdle which turned into a complete farce at times. We had Majborough, who we thought was the one good thing of the day, ploughed through almost every fence. I mean, how do you just sum up yesterday? What a sport it is, isn't it?
It was absolutely unbelievable, Robert. I mean, a lot of people saying this morning that Constitution Hill saved the bookies an absolute fortune, but it was an hour and a half earlier when Majborough made all those mistakes in the Arkle and ended up out of the first two, which resulted incidentally in a huge place pot payout later on, given those results and also the result in the champion hurdle. But the Arkle aside, in which Nico de Boinville rode an absolutely superb, never say die race to win on Nicky Henderson's Janko by. Absolutely superb ride from him. And then, of course, his luck ran out because at the top of the hill in the champion hurdle, Constitution Hill made one mistake too many. He made that mistake at Cheltenham last time, got away with it. Made a very similar mistake yesterday, didn't get away with it. And you think, well, here we go. The second favourite, Brighter Days Ahead, is going to win because the tactics to that point looked as if they'd been working, with the pacemaker just trailing her along. But running down to the second last, you could see that Paul Townend said a wee look behind him. He's thinking, well, I've got the first two covered. There's nothing coming from behind. I've got this race in the bag. Comes to jump the last, collapses, ends up on the floor, and there's the Jeremy Scott mare to come through and win the race. And up until a few days ago, she was running in the mare. So it was a hugely dramatic day. Well done, the winner, of course. You have to be in it to win it. You have to jump the hurdles and the fences. So well done there. But oh my goodness, I was having a look back through certainly the champion hurdles that I've seen in the flesh way back to 83. And then I was looking back to the ones that I could remember back to about 76. And then looking back a bit of the history of the race back to when it actually started way back in the 20s. And I cannot find another more dramatic outcome to a champion hurdle. It really was history making. It really was.
It was brilliant for Jeremy Scott, though, to just roll the dice that way. Everybody thought she was going to mares. I mean, I even said she should be running a handicap. She shouldn't be going near a graded race.
Yeah.
And to come out and win a champion hurdle is absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Oh, it's a fairy story. It's like I remember the farmer who won the Gold Cup with 100-1 shot, and he beat Desert Orchid after Desert Orchid had won his Gold Cup. I mean, it's a great story, absolutely magnificent. That's what racing's all about. That's what jumping's about. And a lot of these punters who are lumping on odds-on favourites right, left, and centre, they need to remember that the hurdles and fences have to be jumped. It's not flat racing.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on to today's card. Yesterday, we tried to kind of pick holes and go pick the board. Certainly I did. You were on the go pick the board team. Yeah. We tried to pick holes in them. We've got another short price favourite today with Final Demand. Is he bomb-proof, or are we going to try and find something to beat him?
Bizarrely, I think he's more bomb-proof than the one yesterday, and the one yesterday was odds-on, and this one's odds against. I'm quite surprised to see Final Demand 11-8 against this morning. Willie Mullins has 6 of the 10 runners, which says a lot about his domination of these particular types of races. Final Demand has impressed me on both his starts. The race he won at Limerick has worked out like a dream. He was hugely impressive visually at Leopardstown. As you know from our conversations on this programme over the past few weeks, I've not been looking elsewhere to try and find anything to beat this horse. I know that the New Lion is a very good horse, and we all know the New Lion's a very good horse, as is the Yellow Clay. But I'm sure Gordon Elliott must have been a wee bit disappointed with the way his horses ran yesterday. Willie Mullins, of course, he's already nicely clear with his wins and places at the top of the trainers table. And Final Demand, I'm not looking for anything to beat it, but I fully respect, as I've said before, I fully respect the claims of the New Lion and the Yellow Clay. What about you?
Well, I've been on the Yellow Clay train for a wee while, but I've seen the way that one won yesterday. You're thinking we maybe are just trying to pick holes in these short price favourites for no reason. I'm going to back the Yellow Clay each way, but yeah, I think Final Demand, if he is the horse that we think he is, will probably go and win.
Well, we move on to the Brown Advisory, and that's over 3 miles, and we're talking Willie Mullins again here with 4 horses out of the 7 runners. A much shorter price favourite on this occasion, Ballyburn, although I should remind viewers that I put him up at 6-4 not too long ago, and he's now going to go off about 4-7, 8-15. Paul Townend in the saddle. Interesting, I was reading Barry Geraghty's column in the Scottish Sun favourite pull-out this morning, Robert, and he seems to think that Dancing City, another Mullins horse, has a really good chance. Well, we're not going to crab these horses because they're top-class horses running in top-class races, but you do have to come down on the side of one or two. And I think and on the basis of form and on the basis of the visuals, what I've seen of Ballyburn so far, I think this 3 miles around Cheltenham's going to suit him absolutely perfectly. And I'm not going to look elsewhere other than Ballyburn. And I'm not totally inspired by the price, but as I say, 6-4 last week was a lot better value.
Yeah, then we move on to the Coral Cup, which I've put up Sander Clegane a couple of weeks ago. Still think he's a knocking bet for Paul Nolan. Just his form behind Stay Away Faye, Factor File last year, good festival form. We're running in graded races. I think he's a cracking each way bet. Yourself, what have you dug out in the Coral Cup?
Well, funnily enough, one has crept up on me here, Robert, because I've napped a horse that I did not expect to get in the race. A horse called Ike Sport. It's trained by Neil Mulholland. It's going to be ridden by Conor O'Farrell. It's right down on joint bottom weight at the bottom of the handicap. He needed 15 to come out. Now, when I looked at the form of this race on the build-up, I didn't think there was any chance he'd get a run. But I have been keeping an eye on the horse ever since he won at Sandown on the last day of last season. I think he's a horse with a future. Over fences eventually, but he's had a couple of cracks at fences and it hasn't worked, Robert. He's back over hurdles. I think he's on a nice mark. I'm a wee bit worried about the sleep that's been falling at Cheltenham this morning. I don't really want that ground to get any softer than it is already for Ike Sport, but he's a huge price. He was 66 to 1 yesterday. He's 40 to 1 and 33 to 1 this morning. As we all know, the bookmakers are giving 6, some of them are giving 7 and 8 places in this race. I think he's a stonking each way bet. I've napped him because I think he's value, and also because I think I've got better bets to come Thursday and Friday. But each way, Ike Sport is the nap today. As I say, he's crept up on me. Didn't expect him to get in the race. He has got in. He's taking his chance. I'm going to take my chance on him.
Right, you were a Stumptown man for the cross country. We've had a bit of snow at Cheltenham. I don't know if that's going to really affect the ground that much. It doesn't seem like it's lying very much, but. Yeah. I quite fancy Galvin if the ground got a bit quicker. Are you still with Stumptown in the cross country?
Yeah, Galvin would be my second choice. So I think, like you and me have done quite often this season, we'll maybe get the forecast up. Galvin is a very good horse indeed for Gordon Elliott, but Stumptown's been the one I've had in mind for this race for quite a long time. They have put the cheek pieces on him for the first time. Should be remembered, they've also got Vanillier in the race, which won quite nicely. I think it was over the banks last time. Sean Flanagan rides that one. He's on a horse which we'll come to very shortly, Marine Nationale, in the Champion Chase. So he might have a good ride on Vanillier. But Stumptown, I think, had a lot in hand when he won over these cross-country fences at Cheltenham earlier in the season. Keith Donoghue visibly took a pull that day. I think Stumptown is going to win this despite top weight. The cheek pieces should help on for the first time. And everybody was on about the short price Accas yesterday. My big 3 today are Final Demand, Ballyburn and Stumptown. That's going to be my treble this afternoon. So fingers crossed, at least I'm still going by the cross country and Stumptown might just get me home.
So I take it by that you're not putting Jonbon into your shorties roll up. I mean, you've made a habit on this show of being against Jonbon all the way through the season. Are you against him again today? I mean, I've backed Founder 50 each way. I think he was a good price given the form of that Navan run in November. Realistically, are we going to get him beat? I mean, I know you're a Marine Nationale man. Are you sticking with him today?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Marine Nationale. I've got my anti-post bets on. I'm not going to back him again today. He's much shorter than he was a few weeks ago. So Marine Nationale, I've actually got him each way anti-post. So if he sticks in the first 3, I'm happy. But I do still think he's a capable horse. I do still think we're to see the best of this horse. I think Sean Flanagan's taken a little bit of time to get to know him. Of course, before that tragic accident, Mikey O'Sullivan was actually jocked off this horse and Sean was the new jockey. So Sean's taken a little bit of time to get to know him. I think he won't be held up as much as he was last time. I thought he was held up a ridiculously far distance behind the eventual winner, Solness, last time. Solness, you have to put in the equation here, Robert. You can't rule out Joseph O'Brien, the way his horse won the old Boodles yesterday, the Fred Winter. But Marine Nationale, for me, I think if he's going to peak, it's going to be at Cheltenham and it's going to be over 2 miles over fences. Now, Jonbon, let's be honest about Jonbon. He is a worthy odds-on favourite. Worthy, because he's been there and done it in all the big races this season. He's got a fantastic record. I'm sure he'll be there at the finish. I'm sure Nico will give him a tremendous ride. Good luck to Nicky. But I'm going to go for Marine Nationale. But having said that, you made a great case the other day for Founder 50, and I can see where you're coming from with that one.
Yeah, well, Lucinda and Screw sneaked Mayertown at the bottom of the weights for the Ultima yesterday. One pillar to post job straight in. They've got Primoz and Traprain Law in the Grand Annual again down at the bottom end of the weights. Do you give those two a chance? And what have you dug out for the Grand Annual?
Yeah, I think both have got a chance. Lucinda, when I spoke to her at air on Saturday on the microphone for the crowd, she said both had a chance. Traprain Law, I think she would prefer, if this rain does get into the ground, the sleet rather does get into the ground. Primoz, I think, would prefer slightly better ground. He's my each way bet. I'm going Primoz each way with Derek in the saddle. Although you have to give Traprain Law a chance if it gets very wet by 4:40 this afternoon. I haven't dug anything out. I've noted the money this morning for Jazzy Matty, trained by Can Collins in Ireland. I think that's got to have a chance. You can't rule out American Mike or Unexpected Party for the Skeltons, but I'm going to go each way Primoz. And just a chance at this point to say, Robert, yesterday's race, I thought Mayertown was a superb winner. I'm sure you saved on him as well. I certainly saved on him just in case. But Whistle Stop Tour, there was an absolutely appalling starting procedure in that race. Whistle Stop Tour was one of the victims. He was nearly brought down at the first. How Derek kept going, I've no idea. But he just went further and further back in the race. Eventually pulled up. You can forget that form. But well done, Mayertown. What a performance. How much did he have in hand on those meetings?
Well, I'm just glad that we flagged them up when we were talking about Whistle Stop Tour. And we did focus on the other one. But as you say, Whistle Stop Tour, that start was an absolute disgrace. I've absolutely no idea why they weren't allowed to go first time. And then to give them a standing start when they've got such a short run into the first was a recipe for disaster. But that's racing, I'm afraid. I think he certainly would have been competitive, Whistle Stop Tour. I think we were on the right one at the right price, but Mayertown had so much in hand in the end, didn't he?
Yeah, and gambled right down to 13-2. So apart from us suggesting a saver, I think most people would have latched on to the fact that he was very well fancied. So fingers crossed that nobody lost on that race. But we get to the bumper already, Robert. The bumper on Wednesday, that's the halfway point of the whole meeting, the Weatherby's Champion bumper. Now, I've been sweet for a few weeks now on Copacabana. My one worry was that Patrick Mullins would switch. I know that Patrick was down to, despite Willie having loads in this race, Patrick was down to 2 in the end. The 2 he came down to were Copacabana or Bambino Fever. He's left Bambino Fever to Jodie Townend, Paul's sister, who's an absolutely fantastic amateur rider. So you can imagine that Bambino Fever, the mare, is going to be involved in this, getting the £7. But Copacabana hugely impressed me. 5-2 and 3-1 this morning. That'll be a single bet to hopefully round off the day for me. He's not in my big treble earlier on, but Copacabana for me in the bumper. What about you?
I've not got an opinion in the bumper, I have to say, Jim. I thought I'll probably follow you in with Copacabana. But thanks very much for joining us, folks. Good luck with your bets today.
Good luck, everybody. See you tomorrow.